The following podcast contains spoilers for Midnight in Paris. You have been warned. Ho ho ho.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of KFR News Radio. This is your host, Glenjamin Button, and along with your host, Miguel Magusto.
Hello. I am not very French.
We are very hard at doing it. It is not easy. Something baguette is ridiculous.
And how you doing?
I'm not bad. It's a nice little relaxing week. I worked really hard yesterday, and now I'm just super sore.
I believe it.
Life doesn't feel good on my body right now.
I believe it. I think you did that.
I did do it. I was pretty proud.
Besides that, because I don't really care how hard you work. What I care about is how many movies you saw, Glenn. How many movies did you see, and what did you see?
I saw one movie, and that was our movie this week. Other than that, I watched a couple shows. I'm currently watching Cobra Kai at the moment as well, trying to crank that out.
I had to stop watching that because it got so repetitive. I was just like, I need to.
It's just, I don't know how California and the Valley area just has these kids hopped up on bully syndrome. It's insane. And no one gets arrested.
Not a single one. Yeah.
It's very annoying. I even had the argument at one point. I was like, it's really hard to watch because like everybody's just so fucking angry and nobody gets arrested or gets charged with shit. Yeah. They're like, well, that's kind of the point. It's the whole thing of the show. I'm like, yeah, maybe not in real life though.
It works for like a less than 2 hour movie with the Karate Kid movies, but not for a series.
Yeah, the show is fun. I know a lot of people have cranked it out in one day, and I'm sitting there like, I did that for Witcher. I don't know if I'm going to do that for Cobra. Yeah, the show is fun so far, but we shall see. Yeah.
That we shall. I saw quite a few movies. I believe it's 1, 2, 3, 7 movies. 3 of them were rewatches because, I'm focusing more on rewatches.
Getting down to the nitty-gritty.
Especially with my 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die videos, which are coming January 28th, just as a heads up. You can see the lineup for episode 1 now on our YouTube channel. But the first thing I rewatched Licorice Pizza. Had to get out of the house. Really wanted to get out of the house, so I rewatched Licorice Pizza. Still good. Still enjoyed it.
Still, I would imagine so.
Still in my top 10 of 2021. The more I watch it, the more I like Cooper Hoffman, and he wasn't planning on becoming an actor, but I really hope he does after that.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah, so check out Licorice Pizza if you haven't. Then I rewatched Mean Streets because it came up in the 1001 Movies. That's going to be in episode 2, by the way, not episode 1. Martin Scorsese, we talked about it on this podcast. Still feel the same way about it, so if you want to know how I feel about it, go back to that podcast. Then for the 1001 Movies, I am watching a movie called Trust. I watched a movie called Trust. Hal Hartley wrote and directed it. It stars Martin Donovan and Adrian Shelley. Not necessarily in that order, just the names that pop up in my head. I'm not looking at anything. It just came up in my head. That is like so take the Brat Pack movies, make them dark, and that is this movie.
Interesting.
I really enjoyed it. I didn't know it was a comedy at first, so the entire time I thought they were just being whiny people. Yeah. And then, like, when I kind of realized it was a comedy, I'm not going to spoil it, but something absurd happens, and I'm like, okay, it's a comedy. This has to be a comedy. And once you know it's a comedy, it's great. Yeah. But, like, if you're watching it as, like, a drama, because it plays itself off like a drama, it's kind of hard to watch. But yeah, Trust, really good. Going to be featured in episode 2. Then I watched The Others with Nicole Kidman from 2001. A little bit of a spooky movie about a woman in a house with servants and all that, and children who can't see the sun.
What the heck?
Yeah, it's a weird movie. It's fine. It's a good it's a very ambient horror movie where like nothing terrifying happens, but you kind of just get kind of uneasy the whole time.
I've seen the cover art for this movie.
Yeah. I avoided it because it just looks like your typical ghost movie from back then, but it does its own thing, which is kind of cool. Then I watched Midnight in Paris. We'll get to in a second, and then I watched Adrian. Which is about Adrienne Shelley, who was in that movie Trust I was talking about. She was also a director, and while I don't know if you've seen the movie Waitress or heard of the movie Waitress.
I have not.
It came out in 2007, I believe. But while she was in post-production for that movie, she was murdered.
Oh.
A very unfortunate story. So it's kind of a documentary celebrating her life and the success of Waitress, because she was kind of like an indie darling.
Yeah.
Where like she was successful enough to live off of acting and filmmaking and all that. But she never really saw like the acclaim that she kind of wanted, but also didn't really care about. Every artist is like that. It's like, I want to be acclaimed, but it's more about the art for me. And her film became like a really big success, unfortunately, after she died, because she did not see it.
It's like Otis Redding with Sitting on the Dock of a Bay.
I don't get that reference, but
he absolutely blew up but he died before that song absolutely did.
Oh, okay. Is it a musician?
Yeah. Otis Redding? You don't know Otis Redding?
I don't. I'm not big into like.
You would know the song.
I'm sure I would. I'm really bad with names of musicians and everything, unless it's like the 15 bands that I follow. But yeah, I'm sure I have heard the song. I focus all my thought and memory into movies.
I don't blame you.
So yeah, that was a really nice documentary. Her husband actually directed it, so it was very
that's pretty
heartfelt. Features her daughter in it as well too. That's on HBO Max if anyone's interested. It's a very interesting and sad story, but also heartwarming in a way. It's hard to explain.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of emotions happened. Then I rewatched Duck Soup, which is a Marx Brothers comedy from 1933. That is also, I had seen it before. I rewatched it for the 1001 movies. You Must See Before You Died. And one word describes that movie: chaos, and it's great.
Chaos.
Yeah, it's a fun chaos. But that's all I watched for this week. Before we get into the movies, unfortunately, we try to cut out the news segments, but three very prominent people from the film and TV industry have passed away that we felt obligated to discuss, and we want to discuss them. The first one being Peter Bogdanovich, who was mostly a director in the 70s and the golden era of Hollywood with The Last Picture Show, Paper Moon, and others. I'm drawing a blank here, but he was also a collaborator with Orson Welles. He was in, I can't remember that movie that he's in, The Other Side of the Wind.
Yep.
That movie, Orson Welles' last movie, but he was also a director. Massive talent, and from what obviously we didn't know him, but from what I've heard of people who have been lamenting him, he was a great man as well. Very, very artistic.
Very talented man.
Yeah, the movies of his that I've seen, I really, really like, and I want to watch more. I haven't seen too many, but I do want to watch them. And I probably will now.
I was gonna say, now we have a lot of reason to.
Yes, as unfortunate as that is, it is kind of how it works in my brain. That same very day, January 6th, Sidney Poitier died. Everyone knows him as the first black man to win an Oscar for leading role, actor and best actor in a leading role. Yeah, best lead performance. He was also a huge box office success in a time where that wasn't really a thing for black people. So he's a huge person in the black community for those reasons. He also passed away. Another huge loss of talent, in the heat of the night.
94 years old too.
Yeah, 94. He had a long life, and Peter Bogdanovich, I think he was in his 80s, so he had a pretty long life too. But yeah, their talents will both be missed as well, and obviously we can't talk about them as people because we don't know them as people, but I'm sure their families will also miss them. And then of course the one that everyone's lamenting because people our age grew up with him as the sitcom dad, and that is Bob Saget. Full House, all that stuff. He unfortunately passed away too. 65, so well. Great comedian. Oddly dirty. Like when you find out that his comedy is dirty after seeing him in Full House, you're just like, what?
Don't do this comedy, Dad. Stop.
But he every single person that I've seen talking about how they met him, the first thing, they don't talk about like how funny he was, even though he was extremely funny and how talented he was. They always say he was kind, and I really feel like more people should focus to have that be the first thing they say about them when they pass away, is that they were kind. Talent and success should come second to being kind. And to see all these people lamenting him that way kind of makes it harder in a way.
And like you said, 65 years old, there's no, they didn't figure out the cause of death yet, but 65, man, it's still kind of young when you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, my dad's 67, and I consider him pretty young. So yeah, he will also be missed. So, starting on a bit of a downer.
Big January's been very sucky this whole time.
Yes, it has been. Hopefully it slows down in that front. But without any further ado, I guess
Speaking of sucky, let's get
into Midnight in Paris.
I mean, this is unbelievable. There's no city like this in the world.
You're in love with a fantasy.
I'm in love with you.
What are you doing here? Dad's here on business, and we just decided to reload along.
Oh, that's great. We can spend some time together.
I think we have a lot of commitments, but I'm sure
What?
While on a trip to Paris with his fiance's family, a nostalgic screenwriter finds himself mysteriously going back to the 1920s every day at midnight. Directed by Woody Allen, written by Woody Allen, stars Owen Wilson, Rachel McAdams, Kathy Bates. There's Kurt Fuller, Mimi Kennedy, Michael Sheen, Nina. There's a shit ton of people. Yeah. I mean, Tom Hiddleston was even in here, along with Corey Stoll. There's
Allison Pill. Marion Cotillard's in there. Adrian Brody's in there. Whole bunch of people.
Very star-studded cast.
Yes, indeed.
So I did pick this movie because I remember watching this back in, it was like one of those premium channels when, I used cable back in like 2011 or so.
Don't say it like it's old. I still use cable, man.
I don't use cable anymore, so that's like a bygone era for me.
Yeah.
It was either like Stars or HBO. It was one of those programs, and I used to watch this whenever it did come on back in that heyday. And I remember liking it. Now, ever since then, around 2013 or 14, when I met you, my film taste has grown a little bit. And that's what I like to use this podcast for, is going back and rewatching some of the things that I used to like and seeing if I like them now. Yeah. One of the things, as a lot of people know now, is that Woody Allen is kind of a piece of crap. Very, very much so.
Legally, we have to say allegedly.
Yes.
Because nothing has been proven in the court of law, but everyone knows the story behind Woody. I don't really want to talk about it. I just want to talk about the movie.
That's all I was gonna say. So now, I want to see, now that I have more of a taste of Woody Allen movies, since I've started this journey with you, my friend. How I like his movies. And I think what are the movies that I have seen of his? There's like 2 or 3 specifically that I've seen. Annie Hall was one of them. That was one of the early ones that I watched.
I think I recommended that to you.
Yeah. Let me look it up real quick. This was obviously one of them as well. Ants, which I think he just voiced it.
Yeah, he was just the voice of that. Yeah.
Cafe Society. I believe I saw Manhattan. I could be wrong. Scoop. A lot of the problems that I usually have with Woody Allen movies, as far as they go, is the main character always feels like it's him, and it doesn't feel like some character that that I can attach myself to, because every movie I watch with his characters always feel like I'm just watching Woody Allen, but not sometimes, because it's a different actor. And even the actor that plays the character always kind of goes that like a Woody Allen type of like role, like how they speak and the way they do things. And I've noticed that through the years. It's kind of hard to watch his movies for that reason alone, and just how kind of garbage almost all the characters are. obviously we'll further explain that as far as that goes.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to get that out there. That's just one thing with not only this movie but multiple movies that I've seen that, like, man, I just wish I didn't have to just look at him while looking at Owen Wilson. It's tough.
Yeah. He is definitely a writer and director who kind of just throws so much shit at the wall just to see what sticks. I mean, if you go through his filmography, let's see, 72, 73, 75, 77, 78, 79, 80, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 2 and 87, 88, 2 and 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 2000. 3 movies somehow, some were TV specials in 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011. Essentially, he makes so many movies that it really feels like he doesn't spend a lot of time on any of them. Which, you know, he has a following. He has a following who love his style, love his writing and everything. Granted, everyone I know that said that this was before 2017, when the already public allegations were brought back up to the front. Because, you know, he was always one of those people that, like, I knew was creepy. I didn't know exactly why, but, like, I had heard whispers that he was a creepy person. And last week I said I stopped watching watching Woody Allen because of his allegations and everything. And then I realized I've only seen Annie Hall all the way through.
Yeah, there's not many that you would normally go out of your way to see.
And then I realized it's because the reason I feel like I've seen a lot of Woody Allen is so many movies came out between 2005 and 2017 that he directed while I was working at theaters, and I just saw bits and pieces of them and decided I didn't want to see them. He's not really my style. I love Annie Hall. I think Annie Hall is a brilliant movie. I think he that's probably him at his peak is in the 70s. And then he just kind of, I feel like he gets kind of full of himself and, you know, just makes everything super complainy.
Super complainy. The vocabulary is always just like long and exaggerated and overkempt whenever they have conversations with each other. It's just like, why are these two people who are way too smart just talking to each other like they're both the smartest people in the world?
Yeah. And he also romanticizes everything. Like he obviously this whole film is about romanticizing. I saw
the way you put on your shoe, and I just thought, I was like, maybe this woman fell in love with me.
Yeah, exactly. He romanticizes Paris, and this is what, you know, everyone romanticizes Paris, except for me, because every French person I've ever met has been rude to me for no reason other than the fact that I was American. Then he romanticizes the past and everything, but that's kind of what this whole movie's about, which I did appreciate. That is that, you know, it kind of examines the fact that no one's really happy with the time or place that they're born in, and everyone kind of wishes they were born in a different place in a different time. That part I did like that aspect of it, but it's, you know, it took a long time to finally get there. It just kept romanticizing it, and then it wasn't like a transition into that thought. It was just like, this woman doesn't want what I want, so I guess we're both just romanticizing something we can't have at this point. And that's his female characters, in my opinion, are always so two-dimensional. They're with the exception of Annie Hall, but that's mostly because of the work of Diane Keaton. She brings depth to that character, but if you look at the writing, she's also kind of two-dimensional. But through Diane Keaton's performance, she has some depth to her. But the thing that bothered me with his writing in this is every time they talked about a woman, the first thing they would say is like if she's sexy or beautiful or whatever. And, you know, Owen Wilson, his character didn't really strike me as the kind of person that would say that. Maybe it's just because I, you know, like Owen Wilson a lot. And I don't think Owen Wilson would do that. But it just kind of felt off to me, other than, you know, being problematic.
I mean, that was the point I was bringing up earlier. Is you see this and you're like, oh, Woody Allen would say that for sure. I don't see Owen Wilson saying that about like this. The character didn't fit Owen Wilson. It looked like it just fit Woody Allen in a way. And like you were saying with the female characters is like. They were all so two-dimensional, and I mean Rachel McAdams. I texted you in the first 5 minutes. I'm like, well, get ready for her to be an absolute bitch the whole.
Yeah, and then Marion Cotillard is literally there just to be hot.
Yeah, just to be the love interest for
she's
for
hot,
Owen Wilson's character,
and she says she's very interested in his book. Mm-hmm. It's all about him.
Yep. Yeah. I really did, like you were saying earlier, I did like the concept of this movie of how you know you're born in the wrong time and you want to be somewhere else, and at midnight a little carriage comes along and it takes you away and whisks you to the wonderful land of where you want to go, which is still in Paris, but still the time where you want to go. I like the concept of all of that. I don't think he was the director or writer I wanted for that theme.
Agreed.
Because it drags on a lot of like arguing back and forth. It's like a dick measuring contest of knowledge, with this like teacher guy.
I did like how Michael Sheen was wrong about a lot of things and would not admit that he was wrong. I thought that was a nice touch, but the dick measuring contest was still just like, and her just fawning over him was just like. It's honestly like
biggest red flags in the world, guy.
I'm sure Woody Allen would do that, but any other man, I feel like, would have enough self-respect to say something about that, whether in front of Michael Sheen's character or pulling Rachel McAdams off to the side, be like, listen, you're kind of going a little bit too hard here.
Yeah, and, why don't you just go, why don't you date that guy instead?
Yeah, you clearly want to be with him. It's just, his character didn't seem like he had any self-respect.
Yeah.
Which, again, Woody Allen, I believe it, even though he's kind of a egotistical, lack of self-respect person. Owen Wilson, I feel like he does have self-respect.
Yeah, I wish the character morphed more around how Owen Wilson would have maybe done things versus
like the moments where he would make snide remarks, about knowing how that Pablo Picasso painting was painted and how it was really a shit painting.
Yeah,
and
he just drops the mic and walks out of frame.
Yeah, and then lying about reading an autobiography about Rodin.
Yeah.
To stick up for that museum guide who definitely knows more than Michael Sheen about Rodin. Those little touches I liked, but I feel like with how if Rachel McAdams' character was more subtle, I could see him acting like that. But she was just so riding Michael Sheen's dick in this.
Yeah, it's
metaphorically, of course.
Of course. And not metaphorically.
Off screen.
Yeah, off screen.
Yeah. That I find it hard that any self-respecting man, and Owen Wilson seemed like a self-respecting man in this movie, not just him in real life. In this movie, he did. How he portrayed it.
Up until the moment both Rachel McAdams and Owen Wilson decided, you know what, I'm just going to cheat on my spouse in this. They're like, you know what, you like me, right? Well. I'm gonna cheat on my fiancés.
Yeah,
both of them. But and Owen Wilson went out of his way to steal his fiance's stuff to go cheat on with somebody from the 1920s. So I'm like, oh my god!
And then only try to give it back when they're gonna blame a housemaid and get her fired.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna go off topic here if you.
So was I.
Okay. I was just going to say, I've never been drunk in my life before, but I know that you have to be a real idiot to trust drunk you. Like, the fact that he never questions that he really did go back in time is kind of silly.
Yeah.
Like, he was like, I wasn't that drunk.
He was pretty wasted, too.
And he never questioned himself. Like I said, I've never been drunk, but I was just like, I feel like you'd be questioning yourself.
Yeah, I mean, you would definitely be questioning your whole life if you just run into, all these, big name
heroes,
artists.
Your literary and art heroes.
Yep, all in Paris at the same time. Like, Pablo Picasso? Oh my God. Ernest Hemingway? And, all these people. Eventually, you're going to get drunk enough to be like, no, that definitely didn't fucking happen, no matter how drunk you are. You're just like, all right. Somebody laced that with shrooms, I guess.
Did I have some absinthe?
Yeah, what the hell happened? The off-topic thing that I wanted to talk about was that I I do like this movie. I like the concept of it, but it drew too much of in the real life of pointless arguing back and forth, and like in a way it's kind of good because it kind of is nice to see what kind of a drab life that he has and how dull it is and why he wants to go back, but it's just so much constant like negativity that it just
over
becomes
the top.
it becomes like a weight on us watching it, because we're like, just fucking go back to, you know, Kathy Bates talking about how sexy that painting wasn't for a second.
Yeah.
Or like her reading the book, or Ernest Hemingway going way over the top with his dialogue, even though he's a writer. It's just take me back to the fun parts, you know?
Yeah. This is another cliche in movies about like bohemian culture and everything, is when artists, whether literary or painting or whatever the medium is, they're arguing what the job of an artist is, and they're just like, oh, you got to, the artist's job is this, the artist's job is this. Literally, the artist's only job is to express themselves and hope that what they make moves someone.
Yep.
Any claim that they have more responsibility than that is just pretentious. It's a self-importance beyond reality at that point, where you're just like, oh, we have to question the status quo. It's like, no, you fucking don't. You just express yourself.
Yes.
If you want to question the status quo through expressing yourself, go ahead. But an artist's job is to express themselves and then hope that someone likes it. That's all it is. And it's not just this movie. It's a lot of Woody Allen movies do that, but like, I hate it in movies when artists do that. I'm just like, you are taking yourself way too fucking seriously.
Yeah, I get a lot from a lot of his movies is that when he makes these types of movies, a lot of what I feel like when I'm watching is like, I feel like he's so much smarter than me, or he's trying to show that he's so much smarter than me when I watch these movies. That's why I don't like watching most of them, the 5 that I've watched.
Yeah.
But
my problem with him has always been he has like an air of self-importance or superiority or something. Where like you said, he's always insisting that he's smarter than everyone, and just kind of doubling down on that time and time again.
Yeah. I wanted to backtrack real quick. Speaking of artists, how do you feel about the cover art for this?
Oh, yes, we talked about this already. So for those of you who have not seen the poster, which I'm hoping everyone that's listening to this has seen the poster, it's Owen Wilson walking down by the river in Paris. I forget what that's called. One is called the Seine River. I'm not sure. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. And then in the sky is Van Gogh's Starry Night, and it's kind of blending in with the background of Paris. Mm-hmm. Not only is Van Gogh not mentioned in this movie at all, not a single time. Starry Night is not a painting of Paris. It's a painting that was painted from the view of his room in the mental hospital he was in, which was in the countryside. So why the fuck is Starry Night on the poster of Midnight in Paris? It makes no goddamn sense.
They gotta make that Van Gogh money.
If Van Gogh was in it, which again doesn't make sense because he was dead before the 19th century, and this takes place mostly in the 1920s.
He did die in France, but that's
but
like
not
as
Paris.
close.
Not Paris.
Yeah, that's as close as it gets.
And he probably has been to Paris. I'm fairly certain he's been to Paris.
Yeah.
But you know, like, if he was even mentioned once, I would forgive it. But they don't mention him a single time.
Not once.
Not even in passing dialogue.
Apparently, he did move to Paris at a certain point.
Well, yeah. I mean, he definitely lived there.
But yeah, he's not mentioned at all, and then boom, you just got.
And Starry Night has nothing to do with Paris.
Yeah.
It's something that just bothered me, like when I looked at it. Yeah. Overall, this movie just kind of, I don't like how pretentious it is.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's not as uproariously funny and interesting as Annie Hall is for me.
Yeah.
I think Annie Hall is an overall better film. This does have some funny moments, though. Like when he walks in with his manuscript in the 1920s, and Kathy Bates' character is trying to buy a Monet, or Matisse. Sorry, it was a Matisse painting.
Yeah.
And she's buying it for 500 francs. And he's like, 500 francs?
Like,
oh,
can I get like
that
6
sounds
or 7
fair. Can I get 6 or 7? Because it's wildly underpriced.
Yeah. Yeah, a star-studded cast. I wish they were all able to do the roles maybe how they wanted to do them.
Yeah.
I wish it was a different director, style of it, because it was a great concept. I loved the concept of it. I just wish, the style of it was a little bit different, because it just.
What director do you think would do the story justice?
Anyone else?
I think that. Let me make sure I get him confused with someone else all the time.
I mean, honestly, even Wes Anderson would make this story.
Wes Anderson would be good.
And I'm not the biggest Wes Anderson fan.
Yeah, I like Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
I think he'd be
and I
great.
think he would do exceptional at this story.
Another one would be Garth Jennings, who did Son of Rambo and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah.
I feel like he would do a good job with it. It's not really his speed. Edgar Wright would do a good job with it. Mm-hmm. It's not really like he usually goes for like action or horror or whatever, but I think
there's a lot of people who could do this movie justice for sure.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Woody Allen's the one that wrote it.
Yeah, but yeah, it's Judgment Time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure. So that brings us to the judgment for Midnight in Paris. As always, it has to be a unanimous decision whether or not it goes on the shelf with the likes of Apostle and Handmaiden. Glenn, you picked it. I was trying to remember who picked it. So
it was I.
You get to go first in that choice.
As I was saying just about 2 minutes ago, I like the concept. I just wish, it was made by somebody else. Somebody, who doesn't just like narrative arguing back and forth and just having bad relationships and such. But very fun concept. I think a fun movie. I think Owen Wilson's great in it. Everybody else is kind of iffy unless they're in the 1920s and they're having fun. But yeah, I don't think this is going to make the shelf, sadly.
I would agree. I think it's filled with too many cliches, too many tropes, even by like Woody Allen tropes and everything. It's a fine movie. It's okay, but it's nothing that I think is worth really talking about. Especially, it's not, my decision is not completely based on this. But if this were a great movie, it probably wouldn't be brought up. But he's kind of a creep, Woody Allen.
He do kind of be creepy.
Yeah. As shitty as it sounds, I'm more likely to forgive creepiness if a movie's great than I am if it's mediocre. That's horrible, and I'm sorry, but, it's unfortunately true. I wish it wasn't.
That do be the way that it
That
be.
doesn't forgive his creepiness. It just
not at all.
It makes me forget about it while watching the movie. Let me be clear. So Midnight in Paris does not make it on the shelf with the likes of Apostle and Handmaiden. That brings us to our assignment for next week. It is Streaming Roulette, the first Streaming Roulette of 2022. And as everyone knows by now, hopefully, we spin a totally real, physical, giant wheel with every movie on every streaming service that we have. And we spin it 3 times and pick the best out of those 3. So without any further ado, here comes the first spin. Beauty and the Beast Enchanted Christmas. Where was this last year?
Oh.
Do you want me to spin it again?
I might have actually seen this.
I think I have too.
Yeah, because this is a VHS tape, this bad boy. Tim Curry as Forte. I did see this movie. Holy shit. I mean, we can keep it on. It's fine.
Okay. I'm trying to pull it up. I can't find it.
Man, that's a flashback if I've ever seen it. An hour and 12 minutes, came out in 1997. Beauty and the Beast, The Enchanted Christmas. Astonished to find the Beast has a deep-seated hatred for the Christmas season, Belle endeavors to change his mind on the matter.
Yes, it is directed by Andrew Knight, written by Flip Cobbler, Cindy Marcus, and Bill Motz, starring Paige O'Hara, Robbie Benson, Jerry Orbach, David Ogden Steers, Bernadette Peters, Tim Curry, Haley Joel Osment.
Holy shit.
Jim Cummings, Paul Rubens is in there, Angela Lansbury. Lots of people. That is going to be probably on Disney Plus. Disney Plus. That is our first one, Beauty and the Beast Enchanted Christmas. Never would have thought. Here comes spin number 2. Tomorrow, When the War Began. I just realized I did not put the year filter on this, so we might get something.
It's 2010. We're good.
Yeah, that one's good, but
this one's on Pluto TV and Tubi and Amazon.
Yes. Tomorrow, When the War Began. When their country is invaded and their families are taken. 8 unlikely teenagers band together to fight. You want to take the names?
That poster looks a little rough.
Yes, it does.
Directed by Stuart Beattie, written by John Marston, the novel. Stuart Beattie, again, who was the director, also wrote this. Stars Caitlin Stasey, Rachel Hurd Wood, Lincoln Lewis, Denise Akdenez, Phoebe Tonkin, and Chris Pang.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not looking great so far.
That is not looking great. I'll tell you what, Beauty and the Beast is spiking some interest.
Spin number 3. Putney Swope. Interesting. 1969. PUTNEYSWOPE.
It is on Pluto, Tubi, and Vudu.
Yes. Ooh, Robert Downey Sr. directed and wrote it.
Oh, very nice.
The board of directors at Madison Avenue Ad Agency must elect a new chairman. In the maneuvering to make sure that enemies don't get votes, all members accidentally cast their ballot for the board's token black man, Putney Swope. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Written and directed by Robert Downey Sr. I'll let you take the rest.
Written and directed by Robert Downey Sr. Arnold Johnson stars. Stan Gottlieb. Alan Garfield. And just there's a bunch of names here. Archie Russell, Raymond Gordon, Burt Lawrence, and Joe Madden.
Yes. This is also on Criterion Channel, so on top of Plex. It's on Criterion Channel. I will probably watch Criterion Channel because there are no ads.
Rated R, 124 minutes. That's not too shabby.
I said that like we already picked it. Which
of these
honestly,
you would... It was Mr. Beauty and the Beast, so...
Yeah. I'm fine with Putney Swope. I think it looks interesting.
That sounds good to me.
All right, so Putney Swope is our assignment for next week. Yeah.
That's it. 1 vote for Elias, 1 vote for Bissinger, 9 votes for Swope.
Swope! You don't have to accept. It's a terrible job. Don't take it, Swope!
The man's been elected and you voted for him.
We all voted for him because we thought no one else would vote for him. Putney Swope is the new chairman of this board, and I will defend that mistake with my life.
There we go. Thank you, everyone, for listening. As always, you can check out our website at www.KeystoneFilmReview.com. On Instagram, we are Keystone_Film_Review. Facebook, Keystone Film Review. YouTube, Keystone Film Review. TikTok, Keystone Film Review. I forgot Twitter. Keystone_Film _Review. I forget. No, Keystone_Film. That's what it is. Oh, my gosh. And on Letterboxd, I am Mike, KFR.
And I am Glenn, KFR.
And that will do it until next week when we watch Iron Man's dad make a movie. And write a movie.
He is Iron Dad.
He is Iron Dad. Papa Iron.
Papa Iron.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.